Imagine you're driving alone down an empty road late at night. The rain taps softly against the windshield, blending with the uneasy silence around you. Then, out of nowhere, someone knocks on your window. It's a child, small, fragile, shivering in the cold. They ask for help with a faint, almost lifeless voice. You feel a strange urge, almost instinctive, to open the door. But something is wrong, deeply wrong. You finally lift your eyes and realize that the kid's eyes have no color, no shine, no soul. Just two black voids, black like the emptiness, black like something that should not exist in this world. Who are these children? Where do they come from? And why do so many reports claim that once you let them in, something inside you is never the same again? Today on Urban Secrets, we are diving into the disturbing phenomenon of the black-eyed children, kids with completely black eyes. One of the most chilling and enigmatic modern paranormal encounters ever recorded. The black-eyed children phenomenon exploded in the 1990s, especially in the United States, but similar accounts go back much further, scattered quietly across different parts of the world. Some researchers claim that stories of children with fully dark eyes appear in old folklore, figures seen as omens of tragedy, entities that imitate the innocence of a child to cross thresholds, doors, homes, cars, and according to bolder theories, even spiritual boundaries. But everything changed in 1996. That was when Texas journalist Brian Bethel published a report that would become the foundation of the modern legend. He claimed that two kids knocked on his car window late at night, asking for a ride home. Their tone was strange, too formal, too mechanical. Something in their voices and in the atmosphere around them filled Bethel with a paralyzing fear, an irrational urgency to get away. Only when he finally looked directly at their faces did he notice. Their eyes were pitch black, no iris, no pupil, no trace of humanity. After Bethel's account, dozens, then hundreds. And today, thousands of similar cases have surfaced. Children between 6 and 16 years old, showing up alone, almost always in pairs or small groups, always in isolated areas or at someone's doorstep, always asking to come inside. And this part is crucial. They have to be invited. It's as if some invisible rule prevents them from crossing a physical boundary without permission. Some theories call them modern-day vampires. Others claim they're alien hybrids, demonic entities, interdimensional beings, or failed government experiments. No one knows for sure, but nearly every report agrees on one thing. If you let them in, the consequences may be irreversible. Reports involving black-eyed children follow a chilling pattern, and the more you read, the more it feels like these beings manipulate human behavior, feeding on fear, compassion, or simple vulnerability. One of the most disturbing encounters comes from a woman in Oregon who lived alone in a remote house near the woods. It was winter, the road covered in snow. Around 2 in the morning, she heard 3 slow knocks at the door. Thud, thud. She pulled back the side curtain and saw 2 children standing on the porch. They weren't moving, as if the cold didn't affect them at all. The youngest, a girl of about 8, kept her head tilted down. The older boy stared straight at the door with a stiff, almost military posture. The woman asked what they were doing there at that hour. Silence. After several long seconds, the girl finally replied, "We need to come inside. We're cold." The flat, monotone voice made the woman shiver. She tried to ask where their parents were, but the child repeated, "We need to come in now, please." The woman described feeling a strange pressure in her chest, like something was pushing her, forcing her, manipulating her will. For a moment, her hand moved on its own toward the doorknob, until she saw something that made her freeze. Their eyes, 2 dark, bottomless circles, dead. That was enough for her to back away and lock the door immediately. The children stayed there, motionless, staring at the wood as if they could see through it. After a few minutes, they simply vanished. Another famous case happened in Ohio. A man was arriving home from work around midnight. As soon as he parked, he saw two children standing on the sidewalk, staring directly at him, as if they knew exactly what time he would arrive. Before he could react, the younger one stepped forward and said, "You're going to give us a ride." Not a question, a command. He described being hit by a wave of nausea, followed by mental confusion. He almost said yes, almost opened the door, almost let them in. But something primal, some ancient survival instinct, screamed at him to run. He locked himself inside the house and watched from the window. The children remained still for over 5 minutes before turning at the exact same time and melting into the darkness. Many witnesses report symptoms afterward: severe headaches, memory gaps, recurring nightmares, the unsettling sense of being watched, and in more serious cases, sudden, unexplained illness. Some accounts claim that those who do let them in end up with a kind of shadow that follows them for months, maybe longer. The most disturbing part: the children show no human emotion. They don't smile, they don't cry, they don't tremble. They don't even walk like children. They move like something only pretending to be human. And they always have the same goal: to enter, to cross the threshold, to be invited. Why? That is the real question, and maybe the answer lies in what happens the moment someone finally opens the door. Among all reports involving the black-eyed children, there is one considered so disturbing, so destructive, that many paranormal researchers prefer not to mention it during interviews. It is the story of a man known only as Elias, a resident of a small town in rural New Mexico. The case happened in 2014 and remains to this day one of the very few documented accounts in which someone actually allowed the children to come inside. Elias was a solitary man. He worked from home, valued silence, and avoided unnecessary social contact. According to his own account, he was going through an emotionally fragile period. He had just lost his mother and spent his days drowning in memories, photographs, and old boxes. On the night of the incident, a sudden electrical storm rolled over the town. Thunder boomed as if shaking the walls from the inside, and the lights flickered like candles about to die out. Around 11:30 p.m., someone knocked on his door. 3 slow knocks, thud, thud, thud. Elias wasn't expecting anyone. No one ever came by at that hour. But driven by curiosity, he approached the door and looked through the peephole. 2 teenagers stood outside, drenched in the rain, wearing dark clothes, heads lowered. He cracked the door open just a few inches and asked what was going on. The taller boy answered, "We need to use your phone, Kay, even today." That short sentence sounds strange to anyone who reads the report. Who asks to use a landline in the age of smartphones? And why ask for help during a storm at the door of a stranger? Elias hesitated, but he didn't feel fear. On the contrary, he felt something like guilt, as if refusing them would be a terrible mistake. Then the girl raised her head, black eyes, completely, utterly black, shiny like wet obsidian. No shades, no contours, just liquid darkness. And still, Elias let them in. He describes that decision as something not human, as if his mind had been switched off for a few seconds. He only understood what he had done once the door closed behind them, and the atmosphere of the house changed instantly. The air became heavy. The temperature dropped several degrees at once, and the silence grew so absolute that Elias could hear his own heart pounding, hurting inside his chest. The 2 teenagers walked to the center of the living room without asking for directions. The girl scanned her surroundings with a neutral expression, while the boy said, "It will only take a moment." Elias asked who they were trying to call, but the teens didn't answer. Great. Instead, they began wandering around the house slowly. examining every object, every corner, every photograph on the walls. The storm outside intensified, and the power went out for a few seconds. When the lights came back, the children were standing right behind Elias, just inches away. He felt a sudden pain in his temples, a pressure, as if invisible hands were reaching into his mind and rearranging something deep inside. The girl leaned in close and whispered, "They are coming." Elias never discovered who they were. The next moment is just a blur. He blacked out in the living room and woke up hours later on the floor, with dark marks under his eyes like bruises and a slight nosebleed. The children were gone. The front door was wide open, even though the storm was still raging. In the days that followed, Elias began having intense dreams of faceless black figures. He woke with the sensation that something stood next to his bed, watching from the darkness. After 2 weeks he developed heart problems and episodes of sudden memory loss. He moved out of town, and according to close friends, he was never the same again. To this day, Elias' case is used by researchers as one of the few potential pieces of evidence that the black-eyed children do not just appear, they interfere. They alter something deeply human in anyone who lets them cross the threshold. And the worst part, no one knows what their true purpose is. Over the past decades, the black-eyed children phenomenon has grown from obscurity into one of the most unsettling mysteries of modern folklore. The reports follow patterns, repetitions, details far too precise to be attributed to coincidence or mass hysteria. Children who show up at impossible hours, eyes black as endless pits, monotone voices, stripped of all human emotion, and an almost ritualistic need to receive permission before entering. Somehow, these entities, whatever they are, seem to understand something ancient about human beings. Our instinct to help, our compassion for the vulnerable, our habit of lowering our guard when we see someone who appears defenseless. They exploit exactly that. But perhaps the most disturbing element is the silence, the pause between a knock on the door and the moment you respond. That instant when you look through the peephole and see a face that should radiate innocence, but radiates nothing but an infinite void. What are the black-eyed children? Hybrids, manifestations, echoes of something not from this world, or a dark reminder that not everything that looks human carries humanity inside. The truth is that no one has definitive answers, only questions, reports, and doors that should never have been opened. In the end, the legend of the black-eyed children keeps growing because it touches a universal fear. The idea that evil may come disguised as purity, that what knocks on your door at night might not be asking for help, but asking for permission. And so, the question remains, if you were alone at home, if it were late, and 2 pale, motionless children knocked on your door asking to come inside, would you open it?